Welcome, everybody. Today, we are going to be having a candid conversation with a young man that I've seen growing, who is now at the world stage of sports administration right here in Zimbabwe. But before we go on, I want you to like, share, and even subscribe so that we can get the kind of quality guests that we're getting on the Dr. SM Chirisa podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, help me to welcome one and only Mr. Kupakwashe Mukurumbira. Welcome.
Thank you for having me, Doc.
All right. So today we are discussing sport. From the sports world. You are the first guest who has come from that world. So as we start, I want you to tell us who Kupa is, and I've read quite a number of your profiles, and I've seen you in some of high-ranking, FIFA committees in Europe, worldwide. I want you to just to explain to us, to my audience, how you ended up being in those committees or in the sports world.
All right, thank you, Doc. So, like you highlighted, my name is Kupakwashe Mukurumbira. I am a global sports business leader based in Zimbabwe, but serving the world. I'm a founder of an organization called Dominion Sport, whose sole purpose is to help sport entrepreneurs in Africa start, structure, and scale sport business ventures. I rose through the ranks to become a global sports leader, having worked for Sports and Recreation Commission in Zimbabwe, Sports and Recreation South Africa, and the Zimbabwe National Boxing and Wrestling Control Board. So currently, I'm serving as an advisory board member within FIFA. Specifically, my role there is to help in shaping policies that have to do what is called safe sport, which entails eliminating all forms of abuse in sport. I have worked with FIFA and the FIFA Foundation for several years. I also am a consultant for what is called the Council of Europe. Essentially, what we do there again is to provide consultancy services for majority of the key organizations and government structures within sport within Europe, helping them build systems that would allow them to build organizations that are free from abuse outside the European Council Committee. I've also worked with UNICEF UK, again, from an advisory part, working with them in establishing systems and structures within their organizations to eliminate abuse in sport. So I would say, in short, those are some of the titles that I carry and some of the work that we are currently doing across the world, working with different organizations.
Wow. Most of the sports personalities that we know are people that play the sport itself. Rarely do you see sports administrators rising to such prominence as you have. I wanted to ask, when you talk about safe sport, what exactly are you talking about? Is it physical safeness? What, free from drugs? What is it? Can you expound on that a bit?
Okay, thank you. So there are many elements to safety in sport. So I'm sure if you've been following sport of late, there were cases that emerged in the English Premier League of sexual abuse of football players by coaches. And again, if you follow sport closely, in America, the gymnastics team, there were cases of sexual abuse of athletes who even had won Olympic medals. So there's a lot that's happening beneath sport. So safe sport looks at, I think, 5 key elements. It looks at the sexual protection of children from abuse by anyone who's working with them. There's what is called digital abuse as well. I'm sure if you follow again sport, because it has so much huge digital attention, there's constant abuse of athletes online. So safe sport deals with that again. There's the mental abuse. Obviously, you being a mental expert, you know the pressure that comes with performance. And from a safe sport perspective, we're dealing with how do you protect athletes mentally so that they are able to perform to to the best level that they're expected to at an elite level. And then there is the racial abuse. I think that is a common occurrence across sport again. So Safe Sport looks at that element again. So you're looking at all those key elements and saying, okay, how do we structure our organizations to make sure that if an athlete comes and plays sport, they're able to play sport free from any form of abuse.
Wow. Okay. All right. Understood. Being in the sports world and having kids who are in high school or even primary school, I've got one of my children who is crazy about sport, loves sport. And my question is, and so many other parents are asking, should we invest money in sport or in this sporting individual? But my question is, how do I know that this child will make it in sport so that the investment or the level of investment that is needed or that is going on will be worth it? Because what I have seen, especially with school sports, is that people are school heroes. But after they finish school, it all ends there. But we are now we are now in a situation where we have to get coaches, get private tutors, so I really want to know how. I mean, have you faced this, and how do you see it as a sports administrator?
Okay, so the way in which, okay, there are many sports, obviously, different standards to how you can identify if someone is truly going to be successful in sport or not. So I think key, obviously, is to be able to check the performance level of any child if they're truly going to be successful or not. So by performance, I'm saying if they're in school and they're doing well in school and they're a school hero, it's a start. But you have to then check to say, okay, at a provincial level, how does this child perform? At a national level, how does this child perform? So naturally, if your child is performing well at school level and then breaks into the provincial structures, goes to the national level, and once they reach a national stage level, it means they're doing something there's something special about that child. And usually we say within sport, it's only 10% that reach the top.
Okay.
So it means if they have gotten to that particular level, it's important, not just once they reach that stage. I think it's worth then for you as a parent to then say, oh, okay, what else do we do to make sure that this child succeeds? So there are pathways, obviously, to each stage. In high school, you're not playing professional sport. It's semi-pro, so to say. As you go to university, in some cases it becomes pro. So what's important for you as a parent is to be able to really check the performance level, check the performance standard, and see if it's going to be worth investing in. And again, the beauty with sport, in some cases, if they perform quite well, there are so many opportunities that then open up for them, particularly scholarship opportunities within the United States of America. I think you have children who do not so well, they can fit within those systems and then get educated whilst participating in sport, and then that opens a lot of other opportunities for them. So investing in them, try and check the level of performance, see if it's proper, and then invest, and also consider many other opportunities that come with sport, because a child might be gifted in sport at some point, but then as they move in, they might not necessarily fit within the professional level of playing. There are many other opportunities that are there within the sporting realm. So I'm in administration. I did play sport at a high school level, played sport at a varsity level, but then didn't make it to the pro level, and then chose the administrative path.
Okay, because I'm facing, even within my practice, where I find children who then blame their parents that they did not support my dream. And yes, also at the parent, when you speak to the parents, they say, I didn't see this dream taking him anywhere. So there's that discourse and that difference that comes in there. And sometimes kids are bitter that you didn't take me to this, you didn't take me to this, you didn't send me to this trial, and some of the trials are pretty expensive. So, but I think it's important for us as parents to really look and say, is this child getting into the national teams? If you're not getting into the national teams, then it's probably going to be a hobby, or you're going to have to find some other avenues. I think it's a good response. Looking at sports in Zim, there are people that do sports at a professional level. There are people that do sports at a boozer level. One of my challenges is even those, there are very few out of the many sports people or sports that are out there. There are very few that we have seen really make it professionally, including in the soccer world. We are talking about my fingers are too many to mention people that are in top leagues. Out of all the soccer players, then we've got hockey, then we've got cricket, then we've got rugby, and some people that have played even in national teams in rugby, but when they come back home, they are ordinary. Can we say sport? Can you live on sport in Zimbabwe? I mean, speaking on not on a 1 in a billion or 1 in a million kind of like thinking, but can one survive with sport as a livelihood?
Yes, they can, but obviously there are many dynamics to the different sports that are there. So if you look at the level of professionalism, say for example, in the professional cricket system, slightly different from all sports. So an average salary that a cricket player gets in Zimbabwe is quite decent, and a person can make a good living. Unlike, say, for example, if you look at football, Division 1, Division 2, Division 3, people are really struggling in terms of the amounts of money that they are making. And that, I think, boils down to how our sports system as a whole, the ecosystem is structured. So if you look at other countries that are thriving, the way the investment has been made and the way organizations are supporting sport is definitely different. So I think if you just go across Limpopo in South Africa, I think they have quite professionalized systems, and someone can actually earn a living, I think, most of the sports. Why? Because there's a lot of sponsorship that's poured into sport organizations, which then spins off to become salaries that are then paid to players. Again, from a government perspective, there's a huge investment from the government in terms of funding organizations that are already working within the sports sector, so that there is, again, money that is channeled towards actually supporting the sport ecosystem, so to say. So our ecosystem is not yet grown, is not yet professional, and that then creates a challenge around us saying all the sports are equal. In Zimbabwe, not all sports are equal. There are some sports where you can earn a living, some you will struggle unless you are playing within, if it's football, unless you're playing within a good team, because even at a professional level, you will find players striking for demanding salaries, which is something that is different when you get into the international space, where organizations are structured in a way that is scalable and that has systems that really allow money to be generated consistently, thus paying the player the way they should be. And again, if you look at the systems around sport elsewhere, you have players, when they play, because of the exposure that they get, they become very attractive brands, so to say, because they are built in an entrepreneurial way, because for them, sport is not just it's not just playing. So I'll give you a basic example. Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the most followed person on social media. Outside him playing, he has over 8 companies that he has created from his brand. So when you look at our players locally, the mindset or around I'm playing sport, how do I build different revenue streams around what I'm doing, that aspect is still not yet there. Why? Because the entrepreneurial part of sport and the sport ecosystem within, it's not just a Zimbabwean problem, but it's also an African problem. It's not yet there. Our people are not yet educated in terms of understanding the sport business side, which is important for us to then be able to say, okay, we have an institution, we can pay someone 100,000 a week like we hear in Europe.
Wow. Wow. All right. I think we have to take a break. Please join us after this short break.
Turn your dreams into reality with the right loan, whether it's for business, education, asset purchase, housing, emergencies, payday needs, or micro insurance. We have a financial package tailored just for you. Ways Road Investments, delivering potential.
Welcome back as we are speaking to a sports administrator and taking sport as a business. What is sports administration?
Okay, sports administration is the process of managing, planning around sport so that it becomes profitable and it becomes commercial. So I think when you look at how we run our sports locally, I think that's one of the biggest challenges that we generally have. Because if you look at, they say sport is a $2.7 trillion industry globally. Right? And if you look at how that $2.7 trillion is distributed, Africa only has 0.5%.
Whoa.
Right. That means we probably, combined as Africa, we make millions, whilst others are making billions. So where sports administration then comes in is for us to put in place systems and structures for our businesses that are sport entities to run in a way that produces revenue in a predictable way, just like any other business.
All right. When you're looking at sport, what are the income or revenue avenues that you can sort of like share with our audience? Because our audience is a young audience, dynamic, looking for opportunities in different aspects of life, looking at the future. And sometimes when you hear sport, you're just thinking, I'm too late. I must have been a player. If I can't play, it's done. What other avenues around sport is money being made?
But there are many avenues that are there. So I can tell you that within the last quarter alone, over 7.7 billion was made through what are called sport tech startups.
Sure.
Right? So this is money being generated from people who are putting in place innovations around sport performance, fan engagement, and developing different forms of applications that can be used by athletes, by coaches, by people who are running organizations.
Whoa.
Right. So just like we are having what is called the tech boom, the AI boom around innovations around that, there are lots of innovation opportunities around sports tech that are there.
Wow.
Then outside that, you can live as from the coaching part or from the playing part. There's what is called performance analysis. I'm sure when you watch your EPLs, you see the different figures that they put around players, positions that they've made. There are people who are specialists around that. Mm-hmm. There's sports medicine as well. It's a huge field altogether. And yet untapped in Africa, but making billions again within sport. There are individuals that specialize in just management of athletes. So if I take the biggest entities that are currently there in terms of management within America alone and put them in the Zimbabwean economy, they can actually manage our country because they generate more than what we generate is the whole country. So I'm speaking of people that specialize in just managing athletes. And then from there, you have people that are in sports media that specialize in capturing content and selling content. So key, I think, in terms of revenue generation across sport is what I call sports media rights, where people, television channels, buy content that is sport related and sell it to television channels as well. And then outside that, there's content creation from a social media perspective that is also coming up again. So there are many facets that are there in as far as how you can generate revenue as a person in sport. And again, if you look how some of the most thriving sport clubs are now being owned, there's what is called sport investment as well. That is there, where individuals come in, actually buy clubs, build clubs, buy and sell clubs from a purely investment perspective. So there are many aspects that are there around sport, which anyone who's interested in sport can then explore.
So sport is a real business, and it's the way you look at it, and it's the way you see it, the different opportunities, and it's something that people that they've got a heart, among our audience can start to look at. Wow, I'm impressed. And so maybe just moving on, what difficulties did you face in your career? I mean, starting telling your parents that you want to be a sports. How difficult was it? Because I'm sure it's easier to say to your parent you want to be a doctor, you want to be a pilot, you want to be a sport. At what?
So interestingly, when I was still a bit young in high school, because I was playing lots of sport, I got opportunities for scholarships, different countries, etc., but my parents said no.
Wow.
Why? Because in terms of their perspective around sport, it was no. Exactly the sentiments that you highlighted. There are few people are successful, and you really can't. You are likely not to thrive there. Focus on your education. Did that, and then got a scholarship to then study sport. When I then started studying sport and then excelled in it, was part of the 2010 World Cup, the perception of the family then started changing to say, okay, it's actually something that's worth exploring. And then getting in and starting to work within the system and having established a company that trains people around sports entrepreneurship. The first challenge has always been perception. If you say you can actually make $1 million out of sport, outside playing, someone will say you're crazy. Mm-hmm. That was one of the biggest challenges, I think, walking into different offices, trying to convince people that, hey, sport is now bigger than just people playing in a club. You can establish a company, you can build different types of properties. So the first challenge was that. And again, another big challenge was the general lack of knowledge around the business side, or the mindset that's currently existing within the general African ecosystem around, okay, how do you build a sport entity? How do you attract investment? If it has not been done before and people have not seen it, it's always then difficult for you to then try and convince people. So I think those were the two major challenges: the perception and the lack of knowledge around, okay, what exactly is this sports management and how does it work? And because the perception is always, if you tell people you can earn $1 million from sport outside being a player, the perception is you can't do that.
Yeah. So how did you overcome it? What?
I think the biggest benefit that I had is I had a mentor locally, Dr. S.M. Chirisa. He was my mentor. He guided me in terms of getting basic principles around how do you navigate building businesses and establishing and growing them. That for me was a game changer, because you're trying to explain a vision to someone who doesn't understand what you're doing, and then you get someone who comes in and then tells you, okay, this is how you move around it. So for me, the first key thing that really helped me was finding a mentor to learn, grow under, and get to know how to navigate, particularly the Zimbabwean environment, given that I had studied in South Africa, coming from a different environment altogether. Then secondly, I think they say the journey of any person who's into entrepreneurship is, and they say it's a journey of 1,000 pitches. Mm-hmm. Right. So you have to continuously say your story, share your story, show your ideas to different individuals until people then come in and buy into what you are saying. So I think that consistency of then being able to consistently share ideas around what I was doing helped. Then personal development and growth is something that was then ingrained in me in the process of the mentoring journey that I had. And from doing that, I then consistently worked on improving myself in as far as understanding how global systems work, connecting with different individuals. And then lastly, I have invested so much in trying to build as much global networks as possible around myself so that I learn what is happening in terms of sport business, sport development from a global scale, not just from a local scale. And in doing that, I then was able to break into some of the international platforms and share the ideas that I had, and then access different domains within organizations like FIFA and many other international organizations.
Wow. Thank you. We'll take another short break and we'll be back after a few minutes.
Turn your dreams into reality with the right loan, whether it's for business, education, asset purchase, housing, emergencies, payday needs, or micro insurance. We have a financial package tailored just for you. Ways Road Investments, delivering potential.
So welcome back. You know, the days when we were in school, sport was soccer. Then after some time, a bit of basketball and volleyball. But right now, soccer is, sport is a whole beast of new sports, rowing, swimming, you know, all kinds of things. One of the trends that I've seen is we've got a lot of people who are saying, I'm coaching basketball, I'm coaching table tennis, I'm coaching this, I'm coaching this. And they're trying to recruit and they're paying $5, $10 an hour. What's your comment about, you know, the rise of the coaching phenomena, especially in Harare?
Okay, so I think everyone is trying to make a living. That's a basic thing. But they say coaching is turning potential into performance.
Wow.
So I'll repeat that. Coaching is turning potential into performance. So when you're looking at someone who comes to you and says, okay, I have a child, I have coaching capabilities, the core thing is to say, okay, what profile do you have that really shows that you have a proven history of turning potential into performance? So we indicated at the beginning that if you want your child to be coached by a coach that really knows what they're doing, what shows obviously is going to be performance. We said if they're at high school, they should be able to break different levels. Then you can actually say, okay, this guy has invested well in terms of is well skilled in terms of developing players. So you have to look at beyond a person just coming to you and saying, I coach. You have to be able to know, okay, there are different national federations that train these coaches that are there. You should be able, again, to cross-check with them to say, okay, how is this person a certified coach? Because there's someone who can say, I coach, but they're actually not certified because they've just played the sport. So you want to know, okay, what certification do you have? What level do you have? So that you actually know that if you're taking your child to be coached, they are being coached by someone who can actually turn their sporting potential into sporting performance and then allow them to then reach their fullest potential in terms of sporting capabilities. And naturally, academies and many training institutions are mushrooming different parts of the country. But you always have to check: does this person have credentials? Do they actually have a history of developing other players that you can point to that are in the national teams, that are in the provincial teams, that are playing in leagues? Once you have someone like that coaching your kid, you're then guaranteed that they are being coached in the right hands.
You've got a real coach.
Yeah.
All right. So, you know, this is a very important conversation because sport, we all speak sport every Monday, every Friday. Everybody's talking some sport somewhere. It has become big, but a lot of our society or the black community has not really taken sports seriously as a business. It's more like a hobby. It's more like entertainment. But this conversation has really changed my own perspective towards sport, and I wish more people could have that turn of mind and really start to look at the business aspect of sport, because sport is big business. As we close, what are your parting three shots, especially maybe the 3 points that you want to leave my audience? Remember, my audience are young guys looking for opportunities. They are dynamic, and especially how can they make it, especially in areas that are still probably not underground as per se, but that are not popular, like what you have done.
Okay, so I think for me, core recipe that I always share with most people that I meet is you have to find mentors, because success can never be reinvented.
Yeah.
Right? You have to find people within your field that have been successful, within where you see yourself going, and then reach out to those people for them to teach you how to become successful in a faster way. So I think I'm on almost all the boards that I sit, I'm one of the youngest people that you find within the community that I am. And the question that I get asked consistently is, how did you move so fast? I moved so fast because I was standing on shoulders of giants. I was standing on shoulders of people that were already moving and that had followed the different paths. So number one is find a mentor. Success becomes faster and easier when you have mentors.
Yeah.
Then number two is invest in yourself.
Yeah.
All right. One of my mentors, again, I'll refer to mentors because they've played a key role to my success. I'm not a self-made person. I've been made by people that have worked on me. One of my mentors said, if you don't invest in yourself, don't expect anyone to invest in you.
Sure.
Right? So you have to intentionally invest in your growth, in your development, expose yourself to who is doing the best of what you want to do. So I've been privileged to be exposed to some of the leading people within the sporting realm, and as such, it's now easy for me to maneuver and be part of certain global systems. So always invest in yourself. And then lastly, like I said before, the journey of anyone who wants to be successful at anything is a journey of 1,000 pitches. So you've got to know how to pitch, craft, shape the ideas that you have so that when you speak to anyone, they can invest in what you are doing. So those would be my parting shots. Find a mentor, invest in yourself, and pitch.
Wow. So that brings us to the wrap of this episode. Unique as it is, but the nuggets are so rich and are important for anybody to succeed anyway and in anything. Mr. Cooper, thank you so much for coming and taking your time. May God bless you. May we see you at the top. We want you to be the FIFA president one day.
Thank you.
All right.